The modern prison system is a cornerstone of justice systems worldwide, a seemingly permanent fixture in our societal landscape, designed to punish, deter, isolate those who break the law. It represents a vast and complex network of facilities, personnel, economic dependencies, holding millions within its walls. The very idea of its complete and sudden disappearance strikes many as an invitation to chaos, a radical proposal that challenges assumptions about safety, accountability, order. Yet the question is being asked with increasing urgency. What if we simply abolished all prisons? This isn't a mere academic exercise or a fringe fantasy. It's a serious inquiry grounded in decades of data showing high costs, systemic failures, disproportionate impacts on marginalized communities. This exploration moves beyond philosophy to a rigorous, systems-based analysis. We will not speculate on utopias or dystopias without grounding in real-world constraints and mechanics. Our focus: cascading consequences, interconnected systems, prison gates swung open tomorrow, immediate logistical challenges for law enforcement and the courts, economic shifts for communities reliant on prison jobs, pressure on social services to absorb a new reality, society as an intricate machine, trace cause and effect, practical not just political. Initial shockwaves, immediate release of millions, systemic paralysis of a justice apparatus, then wider impacts, redirection of trillions, reshaping economies, infrastructure, public services. What happens to guards, the administrators, industries supplying food, industries supplying surveillance tech? How do housing markets adapt? Healthcare systems, educational institutions adapt. Individuals will need support, jobs, reintegration, abolition, with re-engineering society's architecture, not just unlocking cells. Aim: a plausible data-driven forecast of long-term outcomes. Projections at 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, evaluating potential shifts in crime rates, public health indicators, economic equity. Avoid sensationalism. Focus on systemic behavior, the unforeseen risks, the difficult trade-offs, and the potential for a more just, effective model for public safety. The question, not whether it's easy, but what happens next as the gears of global civilization grind into a new configuration. The moment abolition becomes law, the first consequence is a logistical crisis of unprecedented scale. The order to release every incarcerated person, numbering in the millions globally, triggers an immediate and chaotic scramble. Wardens and corrections officers, now tasked with facilitating a mass exodus, face a procedural nightmare. The process of discharging a single inmate involves extensive paperwork, property return, and identity verification. Multiplying this by thousands per facility, all at once, would overwhelm administrative capacity in mere minutes. Electronic systems would crash. In the absence of a pre-planned transition, millions of individuals would be deposited outside prison walls with nothing but the clothes they wear and a small box of personal effects. Most would have no money, no transportation, and no immediate place to go, creating a humanitarian emergency on the steps of every former prison. With the tool of incarceration removed, the entire judicial process would seize up. Without the ability to remand an accused person to custody, judges would lose their main instrument for ensuring defendants appear for trial. Prosecutors' ability to secure plea bargains, which resolve the vast majority of criminal cases, is heavily dependent on the threat of a lengthy prison sentence. Without that threat, the incentive for a defendant to plead guilty would dramatically decrease. Police would have no facility to take an arrested individual. Officers might be forced to issue a citation for all offenses, from petty theft to homicide, and then immediately release the individual. This would fundamentally change the nature of police work, reducing their function to little more than documenting incidents and writing tickets, regardless of the severity of the crime involved. The immediate and visible consequences of abolition would trigger a rapid and severe crisis of public confidence. We would see a surge in private security measures, with sales of firearms skyrocketing. The risk of vigilantism would become acute, as communities, believing the state could no longer protect them, might begin to take the law into their own hands. The abolition of prisons triggers an unexpected environmental consequence: the decommissioning of a vast and resource-intensive infrastructure. The sudden closure of thousands of these facilities worldwide would lead to a significant and immediate drop in energy and water consumption. This adaptive reuse would turn symbols of state control into assets for community empowerment and environmental sustainability. The closure of the global prison system would instantly liberate hundreds of billions of dollars. This abolition dividend represents one of the largest single fiscal shifts in modern history. The process would be intensely political, as the dismantling of the prison industrial complex forces a society-wide conversation about priorities. The abolition of prisons would trigger the immediate collapse of a specialized multi-billion-dollar economy. In many rural counties, the local prison is the largest employer. Sudden closure would cause mass layoffs, creating an employment crisis in prison-dependent towns. The private prison industry would be dismantled. Stock values would plummet to zero, wiping out billions in shareholder value. A decade after the abolition of prisons, society has settled into a new, albeit fragile, equilibrium. The initial chaos has subsided. Crime rates spiked initially, then returned to, and in some places fell below, pre-abolition levels. This is the direct result of reallocating the abolition dividend. Community-based services are now the first line of defense in public safety. Public safety moved from a centralized, punitive model to a decentralized, supportive one. 2 decades on, the alternative systems that replaced prisons have reached a state of maturity. The field of restorative justice is no longer a niche practice, but a fully developed profession. The digital platforms designed to connect individuals with social services are now seamlessly integrated into public life, using AI not to predict risk, but to identify needs and opportunities. The economic benefits of abolition have become undeniable. Decades of sustained investment in education, healthcare, and early childhood development have produced a healthier, better educated, and more productive workforce. 30 years after the last prison closed, a new generation has come of age. For them, a society that locked people in cages seems as barbaric and distant as medieval dungeons. Hundreds of former prison sites have been fully transformed. Some are now thriving wetlands and restored forests, acting as vital carbon sinks. However, this mature society faces new risks. The greatest may be complacency. If political will wavers and funding for these essential services is cut, the social problems they manage could re-emerge. The abolition of prisons is far more than the simple act of unlocking cell doors. It is a catalyst for a complete societal re-engineering. The core insight is that a society without prisons must replace the function of control with the function of support, reallocating its resources from caging people to caring for them. The long-term outcome projects a society where crime is addressed at its roots and social cohesion is built not on fear, but on a shared commitment to collective well-being. The key insight is that safety is not the absence of crime. It is the presence of justice. What scenario should we explore next? Share your ideas below. You've been watching Ifverse, where imagination meets possibility. See you in our next reality.